Okay, so I'm here with Chaz Parks. How's it going, Chaz? How you doing, buddy?
I'm blessed and highly favored, sir.
Dude, same here, likewise. So Chaz and I go back plenty of years, and I'm gonna introduce first of all Chaz as a very good friend of mine, and also some guy who I look up to in the industry because he's a guy where he learns and he implements, but also pushes every single day. So out of any podcast that you're ever gonna want to listen to, make sure you most definitely listen to this one. And having said that, I definitely want to introduce Chaz. Chaz, first of all, let's start off by, if you don't mind, telling us a little bit about your background, about where you came from, and your upbringing all the way up to where you are now, and summed up, if you don't mind me going with there.
Cool. I'm gonna rattle it off quick, bullet list style. But basically, grew up in North Georgia, in Dawsonville, Georgia, and in the country.
Yeah.
Growing up, mom and dad, we kind of like lived in poverty. This is the way it was, and it was like a pretty rough upbringing. We were always on some type of welfare or government cheese, and always getting handouts and this and that. And just throughout life, it was always kind of like a struggle and everything. Skipping through many, many years, basically, long story short, my mother and father, they both passed away. My mom died of cancer, 97. My dad died in 2005 from basically like smoking and drinking and addictions. Um, through my life, like I grew up and basically just saw the idea of like, hey, let's watch every single TV show that we can. Like, man, like
Sure.
every single Cheers episode, Roseanne, you know, whatever it was, Saved by the Bell. I've seen them all, like all day long. That's what I do. So I never had like a role model for like an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
God just kind of placed the right people in my life throughout, the series of time, and He connected the right dots. But um, as I got a little bit older, I started to get into the party scene, and started getting involved in drinking and drugs and just, some of the wrong things that you should be involved in. That kind of led into some criminal activities, and I got in some trouble and had some really, really deep holes to dig out of. And the hole was so deep, basically, I dug a hole from Georgia all the way to Australia. We had to stack it back up, and it took decades, many, many decades, like tens of thousands of dollars, and plugging in with a local church. I was blessed to, receive salvation. That was the big impetus and the redirection of my life. I
Amen.
was saved and by Jesus. And then at the church, I was approached by a guy with a business card,
Hmm.
and I got involved within the network marketing industry, and through that started to develop my mindset in a different manner. And I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by
Oh yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Same.
So that was a turning point for one. And then also being involved in network marketing, seeing these guys that were entrepreneurs who maybe have came where I've came from, maybe worse, but they didn't have to have any type of, degree. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you come from, it doesn't matter. Like, it's all about what you put into it. So that kind of ran parallel into the opportunity that I was blessed with in the home security industry.
Hmm.
So prior to jumping into home security, I was, making my way through the restaurant industry. I probably had over 20, 30 jobs, and, moved into serving and fine dining, learning a lot about wine and culinary arts, and thinking that, making 1,000 to 1,500 was a lot of money. And it
Yeah.
was a lot of money at the time for a guy that had came where I came from. But I was putting in the hours, and going in at 3:30 p.m., sometimes getting off at 1, 2 a.m. Making that money was legit, but it was like it wasn't an equal balance for my time for the money.
Yep.
So things had I've been fired from jobs. I've been laid off. I've lost jobs, and just like never wanted to be told that I was going to lose my job. I wanted to have control of it. So through the network marketing company I was with, I started to put some hooks out because my mindset was developing. I was saying, hey, listen, guys, I'm looking for a different opportunity. I don't have a college degree. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to go in debt to get an education. So a guy named Chris Munizzi, I had reached out to him. He's in the home security industry, and we started connecting the dots. Selling security systems. I linked up with a girl named Holly Mancini down in Florida, and then from there I started transitioning in slowly, but I
Hmm.
kind of tippy toed in. I dibble dabbled a little bit. I'd go in, and then come back out, go back into the restaurant industry because I didn't fully commit.
Hmm.
So ultimately, you want me to tell you where I'm at now, or you want me to hold off on that?
Yeah, if you want, it's up to you. Just it's a free call, so let's free fall. I mean, going all over. So this isn't. I don't want to have it to where it's structured so much to the point where
Yeah, yeah.
literally let's have it as natural as possible. Do what you want, and
Cool.
we'll go back and forth.
So I mean, the deal was to try to find out how to transition from the restaurant industry
Hmm.
over to home security sales, door to door, or some type of door to door sales. Um, in this industry, it's sometimes kind of difficult to find the right mentorship.
Yeah.
And if you go and look on, YouTube, the person that you would find would be Paul Shakui now. But before that, there really was nothing going on.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that you got that niche in the market. But so through that, I found you somehow. I can't remember exactly,
Yeah.
but landed and ended up getting your door to door mastery series training program.
Sure.
And
And just to interject there, and this is maybe somebody's thinking of something that they want to create or do. And just so you know, the success I had from it, it came from giving unconditionally, which I posted today in the private coaching members area. It's the same thing with, like, I know you believe in your beliefs, is just like how we passed, you passed a friend of yours named Jay over to us, and now they're taking care of him all the way in Canada. It's like you didn't
right,
think, what's in it for me if I do this? Instead, you said, why don't I just go out, give unconditionally, and somehow God will place, something in my life. It just happens. So just so you know where it came from, I actually had my own security company out of Arizona at that time, and I was going through my videos that I was training for my personal staff. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, dude, this is like, I know my training because I've been doing it for so long. It's at that time it was probably around 8 years I was doing it for. I'm like, I guarantee you there are sales reps all over the world that don't have this exact same training. Why don't I just go ahead and upload a video and see if people interact with it and just help them out? And my friends were like, dude, you're stupid, dude. You're helping your competition grow. I'm like, listen, man, if the bottom line at the end of the day, if you're focused too much on your competition, you're not focusing on yourself. Instead, upload it. And it was unreal. It just took off right away. People like, oh my God, where can I get more? I'm like, hey, and I was at my company actually helping other people in their reps. And I wasn't like recruiting them. I don't really say, hey, come work for me. Come work for me. By default, they're just like, hey, why don't you just, do you have anything for me? Can I come? And I was blessed. And as such, it's grown now to over 10,000 people. So, yeah,
awesome.
but yeah, just to kind of give you some insight. So you were one of the first people as well that we many years back, I think it was 3-4 years ago, that I engaged with. And you remember where the membership area started from back when it was just in its infancy, and then now we've even upgraded it and we're continuing to grow it and grow the program itself. So yeah, sorry, just wanted to point that out.
No, it's cool that, yeah, and I mean that was a big thing. Obviously, there's different outlets that I plug into. Like, I'm a self development junkie,
Yep.
but when I was getting going in home security, all the go tos for your drop downs and your different subtopics, the main one that I would always go to is handling objections.
Yep.
Because you always come across those things on the door, like, I'm not interested, I don't have the money, like, my husband's not here, like, I got a dog, I got a gun, this and that. So, like, you just address those so clearly to where that I took it and put my little spin on it as well.
Yep.
And where most guys would kind of walk away and step onto the next door with their tail between their legs, I'm going on up in the house. We're getting in the house.
Sure.
Through that, basically my mindset started to develop, and the skill to do comes from the doing, right? So I just kept on doing it. I kept on getting out there and knocking every single day and making it happen. And I was in a fine dining restaurant. I was the captain over there making legitimate money, but I stepped out for the last time and I said, this is it. I'm not going back. I'm not looking back. And I didn't. And from that, I've been blessed to be put in with a great company, American Defense Systems, with Curtis Kindred over there in Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
And they've just came on and, like, fully supported me where I'm at, know who I am, allowed me to grow. So it's just a great fit.
And just to touch on that, Chaz, I don't know if you recall, if you know, but Curtis started in the restaurant business as well, and we actually recruited him from there, from the New York Steakhouse he was actually working at, and we sat in there and said, hey, dude, what are you doing here? You'd be so much better in the alarm industry. And he came over, he started off, learning the process, and as such, he's built a solid business. It's
Really?
yeah, absolutely. So the next time you talk to him about that, that's where he started off with. So Curtis and I go back lots lots of many a years back to a company that was built. So yeah, but other than that, so let's talk about when you started door knocking. So when you first started door knocking, selling security, door to door, were you as good as you are today? And walk us through that process of what was going through your mind when you heard these objections or rejections. Go back to your mindset, because like I know you're all about, like you said, personal development. I'm the same way. Think your mindset then. Think your mindset now. Talk a little bit about what's changed and how that helps you out today.
When I started home security, I jumped in with a Monty dealer back in the day. I'm like '09, I believe it was. And literally, when I went up to the door, I had no polo with a logo. I
Sure.
had a
Sure.
clipboard, like old school clipboard, with one sheet of paper, and I'd copied out the logo GE, General Electric. You
Yeah.
pitch.
Yeah.
And man, I looked like I was so sketch going up to the door. But I went out there and I kept knocking. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just went up and I made so many mistakes. So my second day, I actually got a sell. It was crazy, and like I didn't understand all the numbers, and but it went in. I'm like, wow, this happened once. It can probably happen again.
Yeah.
But as I progressed, I actually was at my house one day, and this guy came up knocking on the door, trying to sell me some kind of home improvement, and I brought him inside trying to sell him some of my network marketing products I had. And from that, we had a conversation. I said, you should join my home security company. And then he came in. I
Yeah.
had no type of overrides at that point off of the guy.
Yeah.
I just basically recruited him
Yeah.
to pick his brain and learn how to do door to door. And that's kind of where it started off. So, I mean, like, at that point in time, literally, my back was against the wall. I
Yeah.
had been terminated from a job because there were some haters inside of the restaurant, basically, long story short. Terminated from a job in a really bad position financially. I needed that money. I needed to have that money. I needed to get a sell.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that I, meet with. Sometimes I'll onboard some of the guys, and they have this fire inside of them, this entrepreneurial drive,
Yeah.
and they're hanging on to the 9 to 5 or their $500 a week job, their job security, which is a job liability,
Hmm.
really job liability, really. It's a job liability. But what I try to encourage people to do is that you have to develop the skill set. You have to become a student. You have to walk it, talk it, eat it, breathe it. You have to like completely engulf yourself with it. You have to like psych out on it. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally go on YouTube and I'll look at our equipment as 2 gig technologies.
Sure.
I want to know every single spec,
Yeah.
every single detail from a technician standpoint, from a sales standpoint. I want to know every single detail of the competitors' products.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on with these different companies in the industry.
Yeah.
I want to know what their prices are, what their equipment is. I want to know every single thing about it, because confidence comes from knowledge.
It
It
does.
does. And if you don't have the knowledge and understanding, sometimes it can be a little intimidating. So when you're starting off, I can just encourage people to become a student, but don't just treat this as like a hobby, or as like I'm going to try it out for like a couple months or something like that. There's some real money in this, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, like serious cash.
Yeah.
I had a pretty big week last week. Do you mind if I say?
Please, please. I'd love you.
I I had a big week last week, and I only worked 10 hours or less, and it was over $5,000 that I'd made, and
Congrats.
that was through
Congrats.
I got about 5 sales is what it was, and it's just that once it starts going, man, it's like the domino effect. The pendulum starts swinging, and it starts happening. You start to meet more people.
Yeah.
You start to get more referrals.
Yeah.
You start to get in the door quicker.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy, really. Like I was like a 1 in 80 kind of door.
Yeah.
Knock on 80 doors, get in a door, and get shut down.
Yeah.
Like that hurts. You need the money. But now it's kind of like I'm a 1 in 5 kind of guy.
Sure.
Sometimes a 1 in 1,
Yeah.
1 in 3. But
Yeah.
that's just because I became a student. And even now, like I'm constantly watching some kind of educational videos. I'm watching your content. I'm watching some type of like Grant Cardone.
Yep.
I'm watching all types of things to get me on the doors, going to seminars. I'm flying out to Vegas, and you and I are
I
going to just
know.
miss.
I know, brother. I know that. Oh, we're so close. I
I
know.
know. So I'm going to see Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
the greatest motivational speaker of all time,
Agree.
probably,
Agree.
arguably. Sir Richard Branson. I'm going to see a multi-billionaire talking about how he made it as an entrepreneur. So it's one of those things where you have to have a self-development budget.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
make a budget and set aside the money for what are you willing to pay to develop yourself. And and in this business, you basically get paid for self-development. You're becoming a better person. So like your self-development is making you into a better creation of yourself so that you can go out there and wreck it on the doors.
Yep. Yep,
Yep.
I love that. You're true. It's true. A self-development budget. I wrote that down. I'm actually going to use that because that's true. And especially for people who start off, because I know when I started off, I was living, my wife and I were sleeping on an air mattress in a little apartment with like nothing to our name. I know the feeling. I came from that. I didn't come from this wealthy background. Although my parents did at a young age, that's a different story. But I didn't. When I was actually coming up and into this, I had nothing. We had nothing. All we had was the mentality of we have to make it work because I see the vision at the end of the tunnel. I just got to get through that tunnel. But for people who are starting off in self-development and they don't have the money to go out there and do these conferences, well, perhaps you can start off by going on YouTube and checking out the stuff for free, just enough to get you to where you actually have that knowledge that's getting you perhaps from one sale a week to 3 sales a week. But take that little extra money and go into the rewards are just it's endless. It's
That's
endless.
so. And real quick, since you were talking about air mattresses, if I can just tell you a story,
Yeah.
and this is something I tell guys because you'll have some new guys that you're bringing in, sales reps, or if you're building teams, is what I'm saying, that they'll come up with every single excuse that you and I have came up with as well.
Yeah.
But we know that it's just an excuse.
Mhm.
So I can be transparent about my past on here. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
There's other guys that have came out of struggling situations, and me personally, back in March 2013, I had to basically be brought back up to Georgia from Florida to deal with some stuff that I'd done back in the 90s. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just basically ran from the probations, what I did.
Sure. Sure.
So I got slammed down for 40 months in the penitentiary. It's a
Jeez.
long time, man. It's a long
Jeez.
time. So I got out, and when I got out, I literally had one bag of clothes left over from all that time being, locked up.
Wow.
And I ended up being basically forced to stay in Atlanta, Georgia. So the probation officer said, if you keep your nose clean, we'll take you off the probation after a certain amount of time. They said no less than 6 months you have to stay in Georgia. I'm like, well, Tampa, I've lived in Tampa 6 years. That's where all my friends and my community and my church is.
Yeah.
I had to start completely back over, and I moved into a house in Buckhead and had a roommate,
Wow.
Buckhead, Georgia. And in the house in Buckhead, I found a decent rental agreement with the last little bit of money that I had. I
Wow.
literally had no car. I had multiple suspensions for DUIs, 5 years on top of 5 years. So I had to make it happen. So I literally slept on the hardwood floor, and then I was able to buy an air mattress about that thick. Then
Yeah.
I bought an air mattress about twice that thick, and then I was able to get an IKEA bed frame and a mattress. Now I've got like a $6,000 bed. I mean, I'm just saying all that to say that there's places you have to step out of sometimes, but the struggle was real for me because I was doing door-to-door sales, right?
Yeah.
I was doing door-to-door in '09 before I got locked up. Now I'm back in Atlanta, and I want to go back into door-to-door. I don't want to go back into the restaurant industry. So literally with no car, I was able to get a shirt, and my badge did not look this legit at the time. It looked like I straight up laminated a piece of paper. It looked really bad, sketchy sketch. But I would get on the MARTA bus. There's a train system here called the MARTA, and there's a bus, system as well called MARTA. I'd get on the MARTA bus, and I'd have to literally ride out of the metro Atlanta area because it's not a great place to knock on doors,
Sure.
and go OTP outside the perimeter,
Mhm.
which would be at least an hour drive on the bus. And all these things that I'd have to deal with on the bus. I'd carry in my backpack. I had one of those Camelback backpacks that has like the 100-liter water bladder,
Yep.
and had like some sandwiches in there. I would take that up to the doors, wearing the backpack, looking like I got like some kind of like gun in the back or something. It looked probably super sketch. So they're like, "Why do you have a backpack?" I'm like, "I'm just got my water here and my food." So this is what I would do to get on the doors. There's guys that have cars that say, "Oh, my car's about to break down." It doesn't matter. Ride it till the wheels fall off, because there's always the bus. There's a taxi. If you got a will, there's a way.
Yep.
There's neighborhoods everywhere in the United States and Canada and everywhere.
Yep.
People are like, "Are you running out of houses to knock on?" No, turf is turf.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
millions of homes.
Yep.
So it's like, you can't make those excuses. You got to learn to overcome these obstacles. You got to practice the 6 P's. That's what I kind of live by. And it's proper prior planning prevents poor performance. When you plan your day out
Yep.
and you know what you're going to do, when you plan 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2, 5 years, you know where you're going, then the opportunity for you to be successful on a daily basis is going to become more real. But there's all kinds of excuses we can make. But at the end of the day, you got to like strap up your boots just like every other man, and you got to come out of it and you got to make it happen. Because like Grant Cardone said, it's your obligation, duty, and responsibility to support your family and
It
to
is.
take care of them.
Yep.
So if you're going to make the excuses and you're going to not get out there and make it happen, that's on you.
Yep.
You got to get out there and make it happen.
Yeah, you're dead right. And oh, there's so many nuggets you just dropped, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I want to touch on that topic. I want to touch on that topic. That's we'll have you definitely back on the show to talk more about just specifics, because your story is really amazing. It really is a turnaround story. And when you were hit with adversity, it's like you pushed through to actually make it happen. So if you don't mind, I mean, first of all, every person who overcomes that has a reason why they overcame it, why they wanted to overcome it, and not just settle or not just allow the negativity in their mind. Because, I mean, let's be honest, when I was in that situation, it sucked. I understand. I know it sucked. But what was it that had you say, I'm looking at the end of the tunnel, and I want to make sure that no matter what it takes, I'm going to climb out of this, out of my current situation, and get to the end of that tunnel? What was that? What was going through your mind through those times?
So I'm not pushing my religion on anyone, but all praise, honor, and glory to Jesus, because like that was my light at the end of the tunnel. I
Amen.
wanted to elevate His namesake. I wanted to have the platform to speak about who He is, and also there was a vision at the end of the tunnel, and I'm still going through the tunnel. We all
Sure,
are, but
sure. Yeah,
you
myself
know,
too.
through the phases of life and where I've been through poverty and going into different places and seeing the worst of the worst, the true depravity of man, and then also being in these places like these fine dining establishments, you see
Yeah.
a different lifestyle that's the 1% most people don't get to see. And
Mm.
working in fine dining and being an observer
Mm-hmm.
of guys coming in and dropping like 1,500, 2,000, $3,000 like it's
Ooh.
nothing on a black card,
Mm-hmm.
pulling up in their like Maseratis, their Ferraris,
Yep.
their McLarens, like actually getting to go out and socialize with the valet dudes, and maybe sometimes driving it around the block once or twice. You know, so, and, but like
Love it.
seriously, like feeling it and touching it and seeing it. You know, money's not everything, but it's like Jim Rohn said, it's right up there with breathing, right?
Yep.
It takes money to live. And you can either, have a little bit or you can have a lot of it. If you don't want a lot of it, like I'll take it because like I'm going to be a good steward of it. I promise. And, that's what's going to happen. But I just saw a vision. I had so much to dig out of, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
there was so much, man. I'm maybe going to write a book one day, hopefully, to explain it because
Do
there's
it.
so much. I can't even explain it.
Do it. Don't say
But,
maybe. Do it. There's people that need
oh,
that
I'm going,
message, brother. You have an amazing story. I'm telling you, I would be the first to buy it. Please let me know.
I
Do
will.
it. Do it.
So, I mean, I knew that each and everything that I had to do, I mean, I had over 100 traffic tickets.
Yep.
I had so many things I had to pay off. I knew that each and every, you know, chunk I was taking out of it, it was pushing me into a place where I could eventually have a family like I've never had before.
Yep.
And I've met a girl now, Ashley, and like we're doing super great. We're leaning into marriage next year. We've just, went over 1 year. So like God's truly, truly blessed me where I'm at.
Yep.
And my vision is to obviously live a life of, I have a big why. That's the thing. You have to know your why.
Yep.
You have to really, and that's another thing. Also knowing your why you're doing this type of business or industry. That's a good thing to also get into the homeowner's mindset is inside of their, what is it? The lymphic mindset, is that right? The limbic brain,
Yep.
limbic
That's.
brain.
Yep.
You want to get inside of the buyer's mind.
Sure.
You want to try to get on their level. Like if you were in their position, you had a family, what would you do in that situation? You want to get to their emotions, like what that's tied to make them, move towards a buying decision.
Yeah.
But that's another story. But
Yeah.
yeah, my end of the tunnel vision is just basically, like kind of like the American dream.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be a multimillionaire, and
Yeah.
want to have some nicer things. I don't want to have you know, I want to be able to pay cash for a car. I want to be able to pay cash for a house.
Yes.
I want to be able to put my kids in the best Christian schools that are out there. I
Yes.
want to have a chef one day. I want to
Sure.
have all paleo food chef coming
Yeah.
in, like the best fitness instructors, and that's another thing as well. I mean, that's one thing that you talk about in your door-to-door mastery series training program. What does a top sales rep do?
Yeah.
And I think that, it's not only like what you do on the doors with your sales pitch, your open,
Yeah.
your transition, your close, your objections. It's also what's happening in the morning time. There's a book, I can't remember the author. It's called The Miracle Morning.
Okay.
And it's what do you put in the mornings before you get out to the
Huge.
doors?
Huge.
Do you have with me in the back of my car? I'm in my car right now. It's like pouring rain. I'm actually about to hood up. I got a rain suit. That's another story too. I'm about to go knock on doors in the rain. Don't make excuses.
That's right.
In the back of my car, I have my food preparation bag. I use a 6-pack bag or 6-pack fitness bag. It's actually got meal preparation slots inside of it. So the guys that don't get out on the turf, and they go out maybe like they're knocking till 2 o'clock, and then they go to the restaurant for an hour.
Yeah.
They go to the gas station and they're eating these like nasty carbs, like these egg sandwiches with white bread,
Yeah.
or something like packed full of GMOs.
Yeah.
So those are the guys that are going to get sleepy earlier. They're
Yeah.
not going to have as much energy.
Yeah.
They're leaving in prime time to go out and eat. That's when you could be getting another sell, another 2 cells, getting a referral, making something happen. But all I got to do is step out to the back of the car and grab one of my meals, eat it in the car, boom, I'm back on the doors, getting more sales than ever. It's one way to become a top sales rep. And then the second way, also, I think it's important taking care of your physical body.
Yeah.
Going and working out. Like Ashley and I were involved in CrossFit, so it's important for us to have that community so that we can, have a time. It's designated 8, 9, a.m., 12 p.m. We know it's go time at that time. We get in there, and plus it's competitive. My goal is to go out there and outbeat every single person in the gym, which is not always happening because I have huge muscles. But that's important because that'll make you sharper. It's going to make you sharper as a tack and a force to be reckoned with, as in the words of Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. If you haven't seen his training, that's excellent as well. But those things I think really, really contribute. Coming up to the doors when you pull into a neighborhood, not sitting there checking your Facebook and your Instagram and making a cool post and, like checking your emails, but like jumping out of the door with enthusiasm and busting it out, getting up on the door. I'm getting a sell on first door. I'm getting a sell on the first door. This is the things you train in your door-to-door mastery. I'm telling you, dude, I'm telling you, it's scripted. Your training series.
I'm like, I sort of got in my head, I'm like, dude, it's to a T. If you watch this freaking video, if you listen to this podcast, like, there's so much I like want to just, oh, dude, let's go further with that. That'll be another time. And I actually want to reach out and talk to you about something that we'll do off air. But yeah,
Right.
let's continue to keep up. This is going. If you don't mind me asking, though, one thing I want to talk to you about is the struggles that you go with today. Like, I understand when you got started, you had different types of struggles than you're going through today. The first question I want to ask: do you get rejected at doors right now? Like, does anybody reject you? Do you get rejected?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's most of the rejection comes from in these areas, there's certain people,
Sure.
demographics, that would prefer to go a simpler way or to use certain types of home security equipment that would be a DIY, do-it-yourself type system or something like that. So they're super frugal. They're super like they're going to try to Jew you down as far as you can. No
Sure.
offense. And those things right there, most people, they kind of would step away from the door. But what I've come to find is the biggest rejection is not knowing your opponent, not knowing the other companies. Because right now I'm sitting in a neighborhood and it's all new construction, which is where I really excel in. I go into an area where there's new homeowners moving in. Maybe some people been there for 6 months, a year. I go in and try to find laydowns is what I do.
Really? Try to find laydowns. Okay, cool, interesting.
I mean,
What?
yeah.
How do you find a laydown?
Well, I mean, now you want to understand your turf, and I use a great app and Spotio app, and I'm sure there's other ones as
I know
well.
the owner, Trey.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, that app. I was using an Evernote app, just basically typing in like, 1, 2, 3, 4 Smith Road.
Hmm.
But now I can use that app, and I can simply drop a pin on the house. It populates automatically with the address. I can label it with a tag. Either it's a lead, no solicitation, meaning don't go back ever. There's some people you just don't go back to. You
Very
just
true.
kind of got to give up on, or it's maybe it's a new house that's vacant. No one's moved in yet. Maybe it's a recent move in and they were not home. That way, when I'm coming back, I can retrack it out to make sure that I'm talking to people that I didn't get to engage with the first time. And the way that I really do this now that I have this app, but before the app also it actually will do an overview of a certain area, so I can see like the thousands of homes that I've knocked on in certain neighborhoods and zoom out and then zoom in closer like to where I'm at that current time. And I look for big dirt spots on Google.
Hmm.
There's big dirt spots, and sometimes those big dirt spots are brand new neighborhoods where maybe Google just hasn't updated it with their satellite yet. So I go in there and there's like 100, 200 brand new homes with hardly any security systems. So I go in there and start knocking it out. Um, but that's kind of how I find my new homes. There's other ways to get new leads and things like that. I really don't do the takeover pitch too much because I'm stuck in new turf so much that I don't really have a lot of time to do that, and I excel out here so much. But finding new construction for me is the best way for me to get the most sales.
Sure. So you're currently sitting in a brand new BMW, I see, and I saw that also your post on Facebook and whatnot. Congratulations, because hey, you
Yeah.
brought yourself from where you were at to where you were to where you're at, and talk to us, tell us a little bit about the story. Look, show us around. That's right. Congratulations, and
Oh,
it's not just about showing off and look at me and haha I got fancy cars and crap like that. It's not about that. It's about what you accomplished and
oh,
when the feeling. It just talk to us about the feeling. Tell us about your car. Tell us a little bit about that.
great story.
Inspiring.
So, my, I saw the Beamer that you posted before, and I was
Yep.
like, that's cool. I was always on like the Mercedes side for some
Hmm.
reason. I think the network marketing company I was with, they gave away like a free Mercedes or something at the time.
Yep.
But whenever I got, with my current girlfriend and forever girlfriend, hopefully she's not going to kill me. But
Amen.
basically, like her family's a BMW family.
Yep.
Okay, so like
We'd
they
get
have,
along.
I'm not going to name all the BMWs that's going on there, but basically, it started to grow on me big time.
Yeah.
But a quick story, also about just like the progressions. I mentioned to you guys that I'd started out walking, catching taxis, on the bus.
Wow.
I actually was able to get a racing bicycle. I was in cycling for a little while.
Yep.
I got a Cannondale Synapse Carbon 4 and really just kind of rode that around to obviously get exercise. I'd ride like 50 to 100 miles for
Yeah.
endurance.
Yeah.
And I'd also start to use that to commute a little more efficiently, instead of taking the bus because that's very stressful. And had a plan and started to dig out of the hole to establish my license. So just remember, I had 5 year suspension for multiple DUIs at the time,
Hmm.
and then I also had another 5 year suspension for driving on suspended license, multiple offender, because I just like kept flaunting the law. They're like, I didn't understand that when you don't have a license, you can't drive a car.
Sure.
Even if you want to use the excuse, I got to get to work. Well, I didn't have a work permit.
Yeah.
So I dug the hole deeper and deeper and deeper for flaunting the law.
Sure.
Anyway, so I eventually grasped it. I understand that that's not going to be the way to get to the end of the tunnel with the American dream and go to bigger places. So anyway, long story short, basically I reestablished my license after all this money was paid. Once I got the license, I was in a restaurant. There was a guy in my discipleship group that I was a part of. Him and his wife and family, they blessed me with this piece of crap. No offense, Dwayne McLamry. They blessed me with this piece of crap Ford Windstar van.
Wow.
It was ugly.
I
And I
know
had
them.
to, Yeah, yeah, it was bad, dude. It was like a 1992 or something.
I had a
So I
Chrysler,
had
so don't worry. We're in the same boat. Sorry, but I have to say that I picked it up for $250 at an auction. Believe it or not, there was no oil in the van. Like I literally drove it like crazy, and I'm like, hey, maybe I should get this oil change. I go there, and they're like, dude, there's no oil in the van. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But this thing wouldn't break down. I don't know about yours, but it's a Chrysler Plymouth something. I forgot what it was, but sorry, we share the same
no,
background.
cool. Like, yeah, air mattresses and vans. We share the same things. No, but like the van, the two back windows, like I was maybe driving a little bit too fast backwards one day, so both of the back windows like bashed out while it was raining, and I was in turf knocking. It was a bad situation,
Mhm.
and the van would slip out of second gear. It was an automatic, and it was just bad. Plus, one of the requirements for me to get my license back completely with no stipulations for the DUIs was that I had to have a breath interlock device on the van to start it,
Yep.
and to drive it. While you're driving, you had to blow into the device
Mhm.
for 1 year.
Mhm.
Through that year, I started knocking on doors,
Mhm.
and this was at the time I was still like dibble dabbling. I went and knocked, and it got cold here in Georgia. That's another thing. Like here in Georgia, it's not like Canada, I'm sure, but like it does get cold.
Yep.
So like a lot of guys like to stay off the doors in the cold, but at the time I was one of the guys. So I ended up going back into the restaurant industry. The van was about to explode,
Holy.
and I was like, God, like I had to be at this restaurant at 3:30 p.m. I'm like, this entrepreneurial flame is burning inside of me. Like I've got to get out of here. This is awful. So like all that was happening at the same time. My best friend Rob, he's my man. He's one of the greatest friends ever. I met him about 10 years ago, and he's one of the biggest reasons why I am where I am, among the other names that I've mentioned. He actually fronted me a Nissan Maxima 2002 for like $3,000 and let me pay him like $125 a month to pay it off.
Mhm.
I started driving that, had the breath interlock device transferred because I had a couple of months left on the 1 year requirement. That car was about to explode, but I finally stepped out in the home security for good at that time.
Mhm.
I was driving that around, paid it off completely. Finally, paid off all my debts. I had tens of thousands of dollars in debts to
Mhm.
reestablish my credit, which actually just hit like a 729, which is unbelievable because
That's
about a
awesome.
year ago it was like a 500 and something.
That's awesome,
Uh,
brother.
yeah, so the Nissan Maxima paid that off, and then about the time it was about to explode, the alternator went out. I pulled up into a Hyundai dealership with one of my closest financial advisors, and also if you're in car sales, highly recommend you to go and check out a guy named Jonathan W. Dawson, and he's the number one car salesman trainer in the world, and he has a company called Cellcology. He's my financial advisor, and he's a believer in Jesus. So those two things are amazing.
Amen.
So he pulled up in there with me and advised me on the Hyundai situation. It was a step out in faith because I was paying $636 a month with a 23.3% interest rate. So it was like I was not, liking that, but I advised with Jonathan W. Dawson and also my business partner with the network marketing company, Calvin Becerra, and a couple other people. They said, dude, you got to pay your debts, man. You got to reestablish your credit, make it happen. So I pulled the trigger and boom, I drove it for about 14 months. Um, got the interlock device off and everything off the Maxima, and didn't have it on the Hyundai. And then that's when Curtis Kindred approached me. I was with a previous company. It wasn't going so well. I wasn't getting the support I needed. Curtis Kindred reached out to me and he said, "Hey man, let's make it happen. Ready to rock and roll with you. Let's expand." And just started working it over here, man. And like the communication's amazing with American Defense Systems.
Yep.
The guys, like, what was really big, and little plug for American Defense Systems and that company because they blessed me so much by just allowing a guy like me to come in
Amen.
to work for their company.
Yep.
The guys, like a lot of guys in the industry,
Mm.
they'll quote you like a higher multiple. If you don't know what a multiple is, then a multiple is a way that you get paid. Sorry, home security dudes, I'm revealing the secret. Anyways, the deal is sometimes with that, there's some smoke and mirrors to it, but there's also some other fees that you're not aware of.
Yes.
And the thing with Curtis Kindred was that the big thing was the communication
Yep.
and the integrity. There's other companies that have the A plus rating on the Better Business Bureau and all that good stuff. That's great to check off. But at the end of the day, for me, it was more than multiples. Like I'm even willing to pay a lower multiple
Yep.
just to have the proper things that I need to go out and do business on a daily basis.
To
So
get a lower multiple, I mean. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like Curtis, he sent me a business in a box. He's in Texas. I've never met the guy,
Hmm.
but I mean we communicate every single day. Little things that I wanted: a hat, I wanted a shirt, I wanted a badge that looked legit.
Yeah.
I wanted to have the materials needed. I wanted to have the opportunity to promote business on social media. I wanted the marketing materials.
Yeah.
Also, what was big for me in making the move to ADS is that, Curtis Kindred, he's an Army Ranger veteran. So is his
Yes.
brother Caleb.
Yes.
And there's a portion of the money that's, going to the Wounded Warriors Foundation, and other nonprofit organizations as well. So those things were important to me when I was making the decision with who I was getting into business with, what they were about, and how they were going to support me with onboarding myself, and then also to onboard other sales reps. So I can go in more confident on the doors, talking to a homeowner, saying like, man, this is like this time, just letting this is the best fit for you for your home security needs. I'm just telling you. And then that's when I get into their mind, like, why did I decide to come to American Defense Systems? And that really helps them to make the decision as well. It helps other guys to make the decision to join the company as well, to sell with me also.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, Chaz. That was awesome. Definitely. Thank you so much. Really quick, just we got to wrap this up pretty quick. I understand your time is I take it seriously. What advice would you give to struggling door knockers right now? And I know they're struggling with many different things, but the number one advice for somebody who's like, I'm going out there and I'm trying to make this happen, but I'm just not getting my sale a day. That's where obviously I'm most passionate about is getting everybody to at least getting a minimum of one sale a day. What advice would you give to that person?
Well, I'm sitting with one of the sales reps that works in my company right now in the car, and I think the big thing is that you want to really focus in on what are the top sales reps doing. Now, you may not, be a top sales rep at the time, but you really want to emulate their style.
Yes.
Like, what do Paul Shakuris do? What are other top leaders in the industry doing? So everything that we've just mentioned here, you want to take that to heed. You really want to adapt that mindset. You want to become that individual. So um, one of the biggest things is just to show up. You have to show up to make sales.
Yeah.
I'm 100% commission. Like, if I don't show up, this beautiful BMW 4 Series that I have, I'm paying for it, bro. Like, I want to get one sale to pay that car payment on off today.
That's right.
For the month. So like, you got to show up in order to enjoy these certain things. But if you're, for example, a door knocker in Georgia, and you know that right now it is a literal monsoon outside. You can see this here. It's raining
That's
really bad.
beautiful. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know that if it's raining, you have to practice the 6 P's. The proper prior planning prevents poor performance.
Yep.
For me, I mean, and I didn't have these things at the beginning. Like, I didn't have an iPad. I'm doing my presentations on an iPad now.
Yep.
I started out using paper slicks, laminated. I didn't have a Field and Stream rain suit with Timberland water boots and pants and all those things, so that whenever it's raining, I'm still going to knock on a door. I'm going to put the hood on. Like, I'm going to hood up and go knock on a door and play the pity party with a homeowner and say, can I just come on in the house?
Yep.
But you can't lackadaisically get out the turf.
Yep.
If it's getting dark, when time goes back, it's getting dark here in Georgia at 6 p.m., and then also it's getting cold. It's raining. You have to prepare your day in the morning. You have to actually prepare your day the night before. You have to make sure that you got your food ready. You wake up, you got a plan ready to get it and rock and roll. Because if you're getting out to turf at 12, 1, 2 o'clock, now you got from 2 to 6 o'clock, it's 4 hours to knock. And let's be real, you probably didn't bring your meal prep. Now you're taking an hour out to go eat something. Or you're not eating, you're feeling a slump, you're feeling tired and sleepy. Now you're napping in the car. Dude, you got to be ready, man. You have to get out there. You have to show up. No matter what. If you don't feel like it, show up.
Yes.
Knock. If
Yes.
it's getting dark, one of my friends, Travis Volek, he's with Vivint. He says that one of his slogans, and maybe he adapted this from the Vivint culture, is that I asked him, I was like, how late do you guys knock? He said until dark +3. It's like working out a muscle, man. Like, you knock out your 8-10 reps plus 3 more reps.
Yep.
You keep on. That's where the growth comes.
Yep.
It's in those times. Usually when it's not getting dark early, it gets dark at 9 o'clock. The guys that are like trying to give up at 8:30, but there's still daylight. Man, I get most of my cells at the end, the
Yep.
bottom of the ninth,
Yep.
like their bases loaded.
Oh,
It's
beautiful
like that's where
mindset.
most of it happened.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming back, and like I've already talked to the Indian family, and her husband's probably working a 9 to 5. That's the way it is.
Yep.
And she's not going to make the decision more than likely.
Sure.
I'm getting content. I'm
Yep.
saying, ma'am, can I just get his number? I'm talking to the dude, making an appointment, showing back him on his doorstep.
Yep.
The fortune is in the follow up. If you
Yep.
don't show back up, you're missing out on great opportunities too. But I know that was a rattle, man, but that's kind
Nope.
of how it is.
Nope. Nope. All nuggets that everybody could take to the door. So let's wrap this up, Chaz. I really want to first of all thank you for your time. Now I know you build teams and you actually knock with people, train people, teach people, and very successful in the past from obviously knowing you and getting feedback from people who have worked with you. Tell the audience where they can go to get a hold of you, possibly work with you, and to how they can pretty much get a hold of you.
Okay. Well, social media is big. So Facebook would be underneath Chaz Parks. That's Chaz Parks, and then it's going to say Charlie. That's my kind of real name, going on there. So you can go there and find me on Facebook. I don't mind people reaching out to me. You can, first off, it's going to be a Google Voice number because there's no telling who may contact you.
Yes.
My Google Voice number is 813-444-9251. But that comes straight through on my cell phone, just like my normal phone number. I'm just gonna screen it real quick and make sure it's not some kind of weirdo.
Yeah.
Or if you want to email me, you can email me at chazatlanta@gmail.com. Atlanta, like the city in Georgia, where the Olympics were in '96.
Beautiful.
Other than that, I'm on Instagram, always posting motivational videos and post on there. I believe that's underneath Chaz Parks as well. That's pretty much it. But we work with a company called American Defense Systems, and we're ramping up, and we have the support so that we can help onboard people pretty much in every state. If we're not licensed in a state, we can talk about being licensed, but we're licensed in like 35, 40 states now and have techs all over the place. So other than that, that's pretty much it, man.
Awesome. Chaz, thank you so much. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to put all your information in the show notes that you did bring up here on the air. So I'll put that there. So if anybody does want to get a hold of you, they can as well go to the blog over at doortodoormastery.com, take a look at the show and see it and find in the show notes. Also on iTunes and Stitcher. So Chaz, honestly, God bless you all the time, brother. Let's stay in contact. I know you've been reaching out to me and I've been reaching back out to you back and forth to get this and make this happen for everybody. I'm honored and blessed to seriously have done this interview with you today. Thank you so much. Thanks, brother.
Much, man. God bless you too.
God bless you. Take care, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.